Welcome to NicheCraft. My name is Cassie and I'm your host, and today we are going to be making part 2 of the super easy V-stitch cardigan. So we have made the back panel, and you do not have to detach the yarn at all. In fact, I would tell you to go ahead and keep it detached, okay? But as we did in part 1 is that we made the back panel, right? So now it's time to make the 2 front panels. So you're going to need to do a little bit of counting, but no worries. I'll show you exactly how to do this. So I have this notebook here, and it has 15 inches wide. That's how tiny my daughter is. Her shoulders are 15 inches apart, and then 24 inches tall is what I made this back panel. So the next thing that I get to do, now some of you guys might have already done this, but I am going to count the V's, okay? And so I'm just going to pick a V right here, kind of in the middle, and I'm going to count how many V's there are, and by doing that, I'm going to find out how many rows that I made when I made this front panel, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So I made 41 rows. Now I'm going to write that down in this journal. 41 rows. And then there's a second part that you're going to have to count. This one you don't need anything to write down, okay? But this is where, remember how I said that it would be nice if you had a stitch marker? Now you can use a piece of string. You can use another piece of yarn and just tie it, okay? So it doesn't matter what you use, but I used one of my cattle lantern stitch markers, and just so you know, these are available in my shop now, in my Etsy store. So if you want to get these for yourself, they're in the Etsy store, okay? So anyway, what you're going to need to do is count the V's across. So remember, we had 1 double crochet on one side and 1 on the other. You do not count those, but instead you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I had an even number, okay? So for those of you who have an even number, okay, 18 is divided by 2, and that is 9, okay? 18 divided by 2 is 9. So then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then right in between those 2 V's that are right in the middle, I'm going to put that stitch marker, okay? Now, there's going to be some of you that have an odd number. And so what you're going to do with that odd number is that you're going to take that number. Let's pretend I got 19, okay? So I would take 19 and subtract 1, all right? And that would give me an even number. And that even number is divisible by 2, and that creates the number 9. So I would count 9 over, and then in that 10th one, that's where I'd put my stitch marker, in that V, okay? And what this does is it lets you know where to make that ending stitch when we start making the panels, all right? So basically what I'm going to need for you to do is count across, find out whether you have an even or an odd number. If you have an even number, put it between the 2 V's. If you have an odd number, put it into the V that is in the very middle, okay? So once you have that done, you'll be ready to start working on that first front panel. So these front panels are going to be worked separately, and when you make the first one, you're going to do exactly what I'm going to show you here, and when you're done with that one, then you're going to attach yarn right here, okay? Chain up 3, and then you'll be making the second one. Okay, so you will need to attach yarn, and we'll hide that tail later on, but for the first one you will not have to attach as long as you don't cut the yarn off. So to make the first panel, you're going to go back and you're going to find out that you need to make 41 rows, okay? Because we need the exact same amount in the front as we made in the back. Now, some of you guys might say, well, what about the shoulder, you know, because there's a place where this is going to have to go over the shoulder, and that might add some inches. For this particular pattern, we're not going to worry about the shoulder, okay? And instead, we're going to just go ahead and work the same amount of rows, okay? But those of you who want to calculate that in, just know that you'll have to adjust the whole pattern for that calculation. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But for those of you who just want to make this pattern the easiest way possible, this will work and it will look just fine. There's not going to be any problem with making this the same amount of rows with the back, okay? So now that we have finished the back, we are going to start with the first front panel. And the first one's going to look a lot like those rows that we had been doing. So I'm going to chain up 3. Okay. And then I'm going to turn the work. Okay. And I'm going to put a V-stitch in every single V-stitch until I hit that stitch marker. So that's 1 double crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. And I'm going to continue to put that in every V-stitch until I have made 9 V-stitches. And then I will do something different when I reach that middle place. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to put a V-stitch in all the V-stitches until I hit this stitch marker. And that's when I will do something different. Okay, I'll see you there. All right, I've made 9 V-stitches all the way across, and I know that because I have come to this this stitch marker. So I'm going to just zoom in. It's not like this is going to be super hard. I just want to make sure that you can see the effect that it has. Okay, so I've hit my stitch marker, and now I'm going to put a stitch, just 1 double crochet right there in between those 2 V's. Okay, now if you have an odd number of V's, you'll just go ahead and put 1 double crochet into the V that has the stitch marker in it. Okay, so I'm going to be now going across back and forth just on this side right here until I make 41 rows. All right, because I wrote that down. That's the amount of rows there were in the back panel, and I'll remember where to start counting from because this stitch marker is there. And again, you can take like a piece of yarn and tie that right here so that you can remember where you are. You don't have to have a big fancy stitch marker for it. It's just it can help. So once you've made that first row, you're going to chain up 2. At least that's what we did with the back panel, chaining up 2. And now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to put V-stitches all the way across again. All right, so as you can see, now we're just working with half of the sweater at this point. So we're making our first panel just working with that first half. And let me go ahead and zoom out so you can see a little bit better how that looks. So zoomed out, you can see a lot better how I'm just working with 1/2, okay? So like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and continue to put a V-stitch in every single one of these V-stitches until I come to the end, and I'll show you what to do when you come to the other side. Okay? And then it's just that row repeat. I'll see you there. All right, so I'm back, and as you can see, I have made all of my V-stitches back, and I have 1 less stitch to make. So in this place where we chained up 3, I'm going to find that 3rd chain, and I'm going to put my hook in there and I am going to make a double crochet to go ahead and continue to have that double crochet on that side so it's nice and neat, just like that. Yeah. Okay, so from now on, when we go back and forth, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to go all the way across with our V's. Okay, putting a V stitch in every single V, just like we did the first time. And remember that chain 2 or chain 3, you can decide if you would rather chain 3. Some people would prefer to chain 3 because that's the height of their double crochets. My double crochets have always been a little bit smaller than the average. So the reason that I chain 2 is because it looks neater for my personal gauge. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. That's why I said to chain 3 at the first, because that's the way that most people do it. But for those of you who make double crochets like I do that are kind of smaller, you might want to chain 2 instead. It's just up to you. But once we do that, we just work back and forth across here until we get that number you wrote down. If you wrote it down, I encourage you to write it down so you won't forget it. 41 rows. So I can make 41 rows from this cattle lantern. I'm thinking, you know, people are going to be watching this later on and it's not going to be Halloween. So talking about my cattle lantern might sound weird. I guess I'll just have to keep these in my Etsy store year round. But anyway, I'm going to just keep going back and forth until I have 41 stitches from the cattle lantern, or from my stitch marker, okay? So that's 1, 2, and now I'm working on the 3rd row. So I'm just going to keep on doing that until I have 41 rows. So for now, we're going to go ahead and end the video here, so that, and just so that you know, when you reach the ending of this panel, you're going to attach the yarn here, and you're going to make 41 rows back and forth on this one as well. And you'll put that double crochet right here, either in between the V's, or if you have an odd number, then you'll be putting it inside that middle V. Okay, and that's the way that we're going to make sure these side panels are nice and straight on either side. Now, there's one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind, because I can see it being a problem if you're trying to like jump ahead and think about, well, what's this going to look like in the future, you know? If you find that you want to try this on, if you're making for yourself and you're like, wait a minute, these side panels aren't big enough. they're not big enough to cover me. There's a reason to that. That's a design element that is on purpose, because we're going to actually be going back, and when we make the collar, we're going to also make more rows along the front. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that I've already thought of that, and the pattern that I have created for this particular sweater already keeps that in mind. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that the width of these front panels is going to be actually bigger once we finish the sweater than the way it looks right now. Okay, so this ends part 2. In the finished video, I'm going to go ahead and also show you how to make the other side of the panel. I'm going to do that on camera, but this finishes part 2 for now. And I will see you again probably in a couple of days when I have both of the front panels finished and I'm ready to show you how to make the sleeves. All right. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy making your front panels. They're really easy and they're going to go just as quick as a back panel. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and think about subscribing. I have giveaways all the time. I have one up right now if you want to go find that and see if you want to enter. And if you go ahead and subscribe, then you'll be able to know every single time that I put up a video, and you'll be able to enter every single giveaway that I post. All right, so just want to remind you to hit the notification bell. I don't just do crochet tutorials. I also open mystery boxes of yarn. I like to teach yarny tips. I dye yarn as well. Always have a mystery box Monday where I open mystery boxes. I basically talk yarny content constantly, and it's based on crochet mostly, but I do knit too, so you might see some knitting tutorials as well later on. All right, guys, thank you again for watching to the end, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye for now.